What's up, everybody? Today we are at the Action Figure Museum in Pauls Valley. We're heading down to Fan Expo, but we couldn't stop. Couldn't pass up an opportunity to be able to swing by and check out the Action Figure Museum. Let's go inside. Let's check it out and see what they got. So as you're walking around, what I really love about the museum is that it's compartmentalized in sections based off theme. So for example, right behind me is Star Trek. And they do a really good job of their decor and aesthetic to try to make things feel very themed appropriate, and kind of immerse you in the area that you're at. Like, I wasn't a huge Star Trek fan growing up, but had I had been and I had these action figures, I would have loved for my room to be set up like this, to be able to have your comms and your dashboards and all the circuits and everything that make you really feel like you're inside of the Enterprise. This is pretty cool. All right, Scarlett, as we're walking through the museum,
Uh-huh.
what has been your favorite part of the museum so far, and what has kind of spoken to your inner child?
Well, I like the idea that they have a find where like where's Waldo kind of thing. I haven't
Which you can
found them.
actually see the little
Yeah, the sign
thing
right
or
there.
sign right here. There's a
Um,
hidden Waldo around here.
I'm not technically looking for him because I just can't imagine like looking for him in this place, but I do like that. It's very funny. Childhood is definitely right behind me. I'm a very big Power Ranger fan, so like I love seeing all the Power Rangers, and I'm pretty sure I had that one. So I've looked for Power Rangers all day.
Overall, what do you think of the museum?
I like it. I think it's definitely nostalgia. You have toys from every gender, every genre that you can think of.
And gender, there's boys' toys, there's girls' toys.
That's true.
So even the restroom itself
Does it
says
say Supergirls?
Supergirls.
Yeah. So I think it's really good.
Worth coming?
Yes, very much worth coming.
Nice.
So Andrew, what has been your favorite part, and what spoke to your inner childhood?
So, just like you, two totally different questions, right? So, for my inner childhood, it's definitely the exhibit here for DC versus Marvel. So, one of the very first comics that I remember truly collecting as a kid was the series of DC versus Marvel comics, where they had you pair up against superheroes. I think it was like Captain America versus Batman, it was Superman versus Hulk, it was Wonder Woman versus Storm, I think it was. And it was a series of comics that showed all of our favorite heroes and villains like battling each other out in this battle world. It really was what immersed me into the artwork of comics, which fast forward 30 years later is the reason why I do toyography in the first place. Is because of those like epic fight scenes and those grand double wide panels in the comics. So for the museum, all of it's fantastic, don't get me wrong, but for the museum, the one thing that kind of really like struck me for my inner child was definitely the DC versus Marvel exhibit here that they have with all the different characters that they have here. Now, when you're asking what is my favorite part of the museum as a 30-year-old collector, it's got to be the statues and the higher price point stuff. So if you look right over here behind you, right at the very top, you can see several of the X-Men in giant statues, which I can assume are probably Sideshow collectibles, similar to the Hulk and Wolverine statue that I have at the house. I would love to be able to have all these in my collection. Unfortunately, I haven't blown up on YouTube yet, so I can't afford to have all of these in my collection. But if I had to choose one, it's a little bit of a cheat, so it's two. I would definitely want the Gambit and Rogue to be able to pair those up in a toyography photo. I think that would be excellent. All right, so I know I got to buy something while I'm here for a couple of reasons. One, because great collection, but two, I want to be able to support the business and all that kind of stuff, right? But I found a couple of really cool things. Probably the coolest one, pan down here, open box, but it's this Green Goblin figure down here. Looks like it would actually make a really great photo. I think we're going to have to pick that up today. Didn't even notice the Nightcrawler in there from the X-Men movies. I definitely think Green Goblin needs a friend. This museum is not too far away from Oklahoma City. Definitely just a quick drive. You can come down to Pauls Valley, grab some bite to eat for lunch, check out a galaxy far, far away. You got to come and check it out. Especially if you're a toy fan, superhero fan, sci-fi genre fan, and you're like me and you're 38 years old and you like the nostalgia, this is the place to be. All right, we cheated. We got a clue for where Waldo is. It's in the Star Wars section. So we're going to go back here. We're going to see if we can find him. feel like that's going to bring closure to our video here. Here we go. She said Star Wars and Ewok Village. Here we go. I don't see an Ewok Village. Oh, I see them. Boom.